Hi all, a new day and new stories from Ocean Story. Just listen to this story. I am practically a mother. I am 8 months pregnant with my first child. The child is also the first grandchild and nephew in my husband's family. All my relatives are very happy about this. Not so long ago, my parents would have been happy too. But I lost my mother and father not so long ago. I was the only child in our family, so I don't have many relatives. After my parents died, my husband's family welcomed me very warmly. As if they were family, I quickly became friends with my husband's parents, especially with his mom. She is wonderful. I always wanted to make a gender debut, so I trusted my mother-in-law to organize everything. I believe in gender disclosure before birth. It's unacceptable and not very right, but my mom was the kind of person who loved it. My mom always dreamed of grandchildren. She said she was born to be a great-grandmother. She cannot see my child or even know that I am pregnant. That's why I wanted to do something for her, not for myself, at least one day. All my close people knew the importance and the reason why I always wanted the gender reveal to take place in the presence of my mother. 2 days before the celebration, I started receiving messages from all my husband's relatives. Even simple acquaintances wrote their congratulations. They congratulated me on having a girl. I went to ask what happened and my mother-in-law confessed. She said that last night she had blabbed to my close friend and she doesn't like to keep her mouth shut. So she told everyone about the sex of the baby after she found out. Unfortunately, everyone started finding out the sex of the baby at an incredible rate. My phone was constantly receiving messages, but I was not up to it. We canceled the celebration, and I was heartbroken. I was also extremely hurt by these 2 people whom I trusted. Usually, my mother-in-law or a friend accompanied me to the ultrasound. They helped me buy things for the baby's room and baby clothes when I couldn't, while my husband stayed with me during the delivery and did not do it himself. But after that, the trust was broken. Since then, I stopped inviting them and asked them to respect my boundaries. When they pressured me with their apologies, I just didn't listen to any of their words. To be honest, I didn't even send them an invitation to the party because I really avoided contact with them because my desire to communicate with them is simply not there. My disappointment knew no bounds because everyone before me knew it was a girl. My husband began to reproach me for pushing them away because of one mistake, which could have happened, and that I am too hard on them. This conversation took place last night. I broke down and told my husband that I still don't feel comfortable being around them. My husband said, "Soon you will tell me that my mom will not be able to come to your birth." I reacted with great surprise and dissatisfaction. I think my face showed my reaction. My husband started saying that I was too hard on his mother because she is just excited and talks too much. I couldn't stand it anymore and told my husband, "If you keep pushing me, not only your mother won't be able to be at my birth, so either stop or you and no one else will come." My husband started saying that I was crossing the line. He said that he, as a father, had the right to be present during labor. That was too much for me. That night he slept in the living room and doesn't talk to me any more than necessary. Levy, it wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. Your mother-in-law made a choice and told your friend about the baby, and your friend decided to tell everyone else she knows. Your husband decided to put pressure on you. So you have to make your own choice. As a person, you have the right to make your own choices. And in general, no one, not even your husband, has the right to be in the delivery room, no matter what he says about it. But it is true that he will be unnecessary there. Moreover, it sounds like this, as if the friend didn't just spread rumors. She told everyone who would listen. That's why it's not a mistake, but a deliberate choice. Hannah, your friend, acted like a dumb goat. She knew the importance of keeping quiet about the baby, and yet she started telling everyone. Well, maybe you went a little overboard with your mother-in-law, but your friend made her choice, so now she is dealing with the consequences together with your mother-in-law. Isaac, just think about what happened. You were the last to know what happened. One person can be considered an accident, but the whole family was an absolutely conscious choice. Has anyone, any of your relatives or friends, apologized to you? Your husband is making a big mistake because he thinks that his mother's worries are a higher priority rather than his own wife, who is actually pregnant and shouldn't be worried. People, it sounds like your husband is using you as an incubator to give his mommy and daddy a new toy in the form of a newborn baby. Lillian, a man's mother, should never be present at a birth. After all, it's not a dramatic scene where your husband has the right to sell tickets to the play for everyone, and all the other people can sit in the waiting room until your daughter is born, and you won't be ready to show her to people. Honestly, my friend is like a human being who will pull out her tablet or phone, and she will start broadcasting the birth live without telling anyone. Ellie, can everyone really do what they want in relation to you? What is wrong with people? I don't understand them. Next story. When my boy Joshua was 3 years old, my ex-husband had an affair with a close friend of mine for 4 years. When I found out about the betrayal, I immediately broke off relations with this bastard. But for the sake of Joshua, we remained in a friendly relationship. We decided that our son would live with me. A little before the betrayal was revealed, I bought my own house. For a long time, my son grew up there, so we didn't want to traumatize him. By changing his place of residence, my husband earned about £20,000 a year. At that time, I was earning $76,000, which is more than 3 times more. As for alimony, my husband paid £200, and I covered all living expenses. The only exception was when my husband took the boy with him on trips. The son saw his father no more than once a week. I think my husband could have given me more money to support my son. But as I said, I earn good money and don't really need this money. That's why I get £200 a month from my husband. In addition, along with £200 of my own money to my son's savings account for when he turns 20, the son will have a round sum in the account that will provide him with everything: education, his own apartment or house, traveling, in general, everything the son wants. When he becomes an adult, until recently, I always had the impression that my husband was still struggling with a lack of money. That's what I understood from his words. But a few weeks ago, he showed up in a new Mercedes. He said that 3 months ago he started a new job. So it became clear that at that time, he was earning much more money than before. My son started coming home with gifts almost every 2 days. When he visited my husband at work, this had never happened before. It didn't bother me because my son is not spoiled. My daughter was very grateful for the gifts from her father, and I was actually happy that our son has joyful moments in his life. This morning, my husband called me and told me he and his wife want to take Joshua to Los Angeles for his 18th birthday. The man asked if I could pay half. I said no, because I had already bought him guitar lessons, and I bought him almost the coolest guitar at that time. So I couldn't afford to pay half of it. My husband knew about it because I told him 4 months before the holiday. Then he said he hadn't thought of a gift yet, but my husband could have taken it, and I would have contributed to the expenses for my son. Or alternatively, my husband could have split my gift with me in half. The man refused and said that if I didn't pay half, then he would not be able to afford to take him, and I would be the one to tell my son about it. His words amazed me. I had never known a man to be so aggressive before. Then the man said, "What about all that money I gave you all these years?" My husband knew that I was saving money for my son, so the man said since he gave money for his son, he should have a say in how it is spent and how to spend this money. We should use the money for our son's coming of age. He insisted on saying this during the conversation. I refused and told him this money was meant to secure his son's future, not for spending on holidays. Once, I decided to be responsible for this money. It is meant for his life, not for his birthday. The man hung up the phone when he heard me out, and ever since Joshua came home, he didn't really want to talk to me and was passive. My son did not tell me what the man said, but given his reaction to me, I can assume that the man said things to my son like, "Your mom doesn't want you to go on vacation with us." I tried to talk to my son. I don't want to slander his father. Maybe he didn't say that to his son, but I don't think I deserve to look like a bad mother in this situation. Indeed, the question is relevant to me. Can I use this money for a holiday for my son? It's his coming of age after all. Eva, it is appalling that your ex-husband feels he has the right to dictate how the money he provides your son is spent, especially when it was intended to provide for his future and not to fund an extravagant vacation. His attempt to gain financial support for your son's birthday celebration demonstrates a manipulative and controlling attitude that is completely unacceptable. Your ex-husband's insistence on sending your son on an expensive vacation for his 18th birthday, despite knowing about your financial difficulties, as well as your thoughtful gift of guitar lessons and a guitar, indicates that he prioritizes material possessions over meaningful experiences and emotional connections. The fact that your ex-husband may have implied to your son that you are responsible for his inability to go on vacation is a form of emotional manipulation and potential parental alienation. Using your son as a pawn in a financial dispute is deeply unfair and can negatively impact his relationship with you. Leah, you need to go back to court and change the amount of child support for your son from your ex, because the man should definitely give your son more money, especially when he has a new job where he earns good money. Who knows how long the man has been hiding his income to keep more for himself. Don't let your husband emotionally blackmail you to force you to use money from your son's savings. One day, your son will be grateful for this money and that you did not waste it. You should tell this trickster that if he can afford a new car, he can afford to pay his son's bill. Christopher, let the man sell his fancy car. This trickster wants to play the perfect dad and make you foot the bill. Your ex made a big mistake. He told your son about a vacation he couldn't afford, and then he skillfully put the blame on you for his inability to afford it. My father did similar things in his family. My father didn't take me on vacations, didn't buy me gifts for Christmas or my birthday. He often insisted that alimony should cover all of this and that he didn't need to invest anything else. I was about his age when I stopped communicating with my father. In general, there were a lot of reasons, and it lasted 18 years of my life. Violet, I would tell my son directly that his father asked me to pay for half of his vacation, the one that my husband wants to take him on, and that I am not forbidding him to go. I just can't afford to pay for his vacation. I think your son is old enough to know the truth. I am sure you can share this information without offending him. Now I want to tell a different story. I work a lot of time in the office, and my husband works in shifts. That's why we decided to hire a nanny for our children this winter. After all, they are still too young to stay at home unattended, 6 and 3 years old. It's been about a month since we hired a nanny, and everything was fine, and until today we have not had any problems. I came home as usual at 6:30 in the evening. I noticed that the nanny had wet hair and new clothes on. The nanny told me that she took a shower afterwards. My eldest son spilled cocoa on her. I was confused and obviously upset, but the nanny tried to calm me down. She said that the children were fine because my husband was looking after them while she was taking a shower in agony. In this whole situation, I was even more confused that my husband was at home when he had a working day. I told the girl that I didn't think so, that it was the right decision on her part to take a shower in my house. She argued that everything was fine, that she simply had no other choice. She couldn't leave cocoa on her clothes. Like that, we argued, and my husband heard the noise and joined the conversation. My husband said it wasn't as big a problem as I had imagined, but I told the nanny that I didn't like it. But you can tell by her reaction that she actually ignored my feelings and continued to dismiss them. The nanny went home, but we still continued to argue on the phone. The girl believes that she did nothing wrong. The nanny said that I was unfair when I said that her salary might be reduced after this incident. My husband still kept saying that I was being too critical. The girl was not to blame. She could not cope with the cocoa stains on her clothes. Because of our son, maybe my husband was right, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it was inappropriate and this nanny should have consulted me before doing something like that. Just for the record, I'm the one who pays the nanny out of my own money, not my husband. I told the nanny before to call or write to me in case of anything. That is, I needed to get in touch with her by all available means, because something can happen to children very easily. I didn't even know that my husband was at home at the time. He told me later that he was feeling a little sick and had switched shifts with a colleague. I didn't know exactly how big the cocoa stain was, but the babysitter claimed that it had been in the drink for several hours. But everything still looks strange to me in this story. Both my husband and the babysitter are in my bathroom. Aiden, why would the babysitter have to call and ask your permission when it's obvious that your husband had already given her permission to take a shower? Taking a shower is one of those decisions where both partners should discuss it. Area, do other people need to think carefully about your thoughts? In any case, you've literally created drama out of nothing, and in general, you have no legal grounds to cut your employee's salary. Your husband was at home when he should have been at work. The nanny went out to get herself cleaned up, but she didn't look good. I see a potentially bigger problem here. Did it really happen because of the spilled cocoa? It seems to me that in these situations it's more like, I definitely trust my husband, I just don't trust other women. Scarlett, I think this is the exact problem you're upset about. But you're ready to settle for a younger girl, and now you've decided not to talk to your real husband. It doesn't make any sense at all. How long did your husband have an affair with the nanny? Did he decide to hire her to your house? Matthew, I don't understand why you, as a wife, are more concerned about the fact that this girl is taking a shower in your bathroom than the fact that your husband was at home with her. When he should have been at work, if he stayed home, why did he keep the nanny there? Even if everything was fine and she really just needed a shower, after cocoa was spilled on her, who cares anymore? I think you sound normal to be upset about it. It's a good reason to be upset. Samuel, there is a big issue of trust in this story. If you trust your husband, then your reaction should have been something like this. What do you say to the nanny? I'm sorry we ran out of cocoa. I'll see you next time. And then, the next thing, that should have concerned your husband. How does he feel now? Does he need to see a doctor? And if the man's condition is not bad, only then, perhaps, should you tell him. If you told me that you were not feeling well and were at home, most likely, I would have left work for a while to come to see you. That you only subconsciously realize this, but your consciousness hasn't caught one thing yet, and that is that you don't trust your husband. So there is more than one person to blame in this story, at least two for sure. One is the nanny who became a factor in the conflict. The second is you, because you overreacted to everything. My next story. My brother got married less than a week ago. He and his wife sent me an invitation. They clearly stated one important request. It said that I was not allowed to bring my 22-year-old boyfriend. He has been confined to a wheelchair for 2 years. I tried to get an exception to this request. I did it because my boyfriend is a full-fledged family member, and no one will deny this fact. And secondly, I simply couldn't come to an agreement. Someone to look after him in my absence. After all, I am his primary caregiver. So after evaluating the whole situation, the pros and cons, I took him with me to my brother's wedding. My brother and his fiancée were furious with my actions, so they started arguing with me about it. My brother said some offensive things to me, but I was glad that my brother did not say these words in front of my boyfriend. I told my brother that my boyfriend did not make noise and did not distract people's attention. He just sat quietly and respected everyone around him. But my brother argued that it didn't matter. He clearly told me that the trust and respect he had for me disappeared in that moment, when I decided to cross his wedding boundaries and violated his only request for a boyfriend. My mom and dad understood my position and what I did, but they also said that it was my brother's wedding, so I had to respect certain rules at his celebration. After the wedding, we didn't talk at all. A little later, I tried to call him, but my brother kept hanging up on me. He has been ignoring me for over a week now, and yesterday, his wife wrote to me. She told me not to call her husband because he has no desire to talk. This is not a situation where I brought a person to the wedding, because of which the whole wedding is spoiled and all the attention goes to my boyfriend. This was not even close. I think my brother overreacted to this situation. However, I'm not sure he will forgive me quickly. Connor, it's clear that you had a difficult decision to make about whether to bring your boyfriend to your brother's wedding, especially since you are his primary caregiver. It's important for you to recognize that your brother and his wife have made their guest preferences very clear, and by bringing your boyfriend against their request, you have disregarded their boundaries. Your brother's reaction, although violent, may be due to a sense of hurt and disrespect for you. A wedding is a deeply personal event, and couples often have special preferences and wishes for the day to go the way they envision. By ignoring their request, you have inadvertently caused tension and upset on what should have been a joyous occasion for your brother and his wife. Victoria, your brother said that your boyfriend cannot be present. And is it because he has a physical disability? If you think this is disrespectful to your relationship, then the right option would be to decline the invitation and stay home, not to drag your boyfriend to a party where he is not welcome. But you decided that everything would be fine. You not only went against your brother's request, you also tried to use your boyfriend's disability to get your way. It seems that the bad guy in this story is not your brother. You should be ashamed of yourself for doing this. Carter, the guy in the wheelchair, it makes me sympathize with your friend. And as for you, not only did you disrespect your brother's wishes at the wedding, you clearly made your boyfriend the center of more attention. More guests were looking at him than at your brother's bride. You say that the boyfriend was quiet and did not distract anyone. Perhaps he was quiet because he wanted to go underground. After all, it looked like that from the outside. Look at me, I'm the cause of the quarrels at the wedding, although it wasn't his fault 100%. Can your boyfriend be considered an adult? If he needs personal help, so why doesn't he organize it himself? While you can't be spoiled, why do you call personal help supervision of the boy? It sounds like you hire him a regular nanny. Has it ever occurred to your boyfriend that it would be better to leave? Before there is a bigger fight, Chloe, why is what he wanted not a factor in this story at all? Why do you refer to your boyfriend as a child? Wyatt, I've been wondering the same thing. You so often refer to your boyfriend as a helpless little boy who is barely 13 years old, not the adult partner. They have a very peculiar language. To be honest, all the people here disgust me. I didn't think I would cause such difficulties with this action, and everyone is so annoyed by this story. Eleanor, personally, I wouldn't have gone at all if my partner hadn't been invited. This is unacceptable to me because it is a lack of respect, so I don't know why you went there and for what or whom. Next story. My close friend's sister Claire was to get married in October. I chose a gift from the registry, but there was a strange thing. About what she added, Claire had clearly stated that she wanted the first option, but she had accidentally listed another option on the registry. I noticed this, so I asked her to make sure I got exactly what she needed. That way, she knew exactly what I was planning to give her for the wedding. But just a few weeks before the wedding, her future husband cheated on her with another girl. Unfortunately, they are now divorced. Because of his actions, my gift still hadn't been sent yet, so I canceled it. 2 days ago, she contacted me about the gift because she knew I had bought it and we live quite far away. Claire was upset that the gift was delivered to her, but someone stole it when I explained that I had canceled the order. She was even more upset than before. Now my friend has contacted us and thinks that I did a bad thing by canceling the order. He thinks that since my friend is obviously going through a hard time, the gift was a great way to support her, especially since the holidays are coming up. It would be more appropriate to let the gift reach her regardless. I was well aware that this was an unfortunate circumstance for her, but it was a significant wedding gift. It cost me almost $1,000. This gift far exceeded the amount I usually spend on ordinary holiday gifts. For myself or my friends, I also have my husband, but because of his work, he can't be around, so he doesn't play a big role in this situation. Although, my husband could have helped to solve these circumstances. But I am the main character in this awkward adventure, so I was condemned for canceling the wedding gift. Was it really my fault and should I have given the gift for nothing? As for me, it would have been an unnecessary reminder of my friend's husband's affair with another girl. Leo, when a wedding is canceled, it would be polite for the bride and groom to return the wedding gifts. In my opinion, this is the right thing to do, so you shouldn't feel guilty for canceling a gift. A gift for a wedding can be a gift card for a manicure, or perhaps a facial, not a gift worth almost $1,000. This is an expensive gift, even in terms of wedding gift standards. Bryson, your friend may have seen the gift as a source of support during a difficult time, and you have the right to prioritize your own feelings and concerns. Spending a substantial amount of money on a gift that will serve as a reminder of Claire's past relationship may not be appropriate or comfortable for you, especially given the emotional burden it carries. It may be helpful to discuss your decision with your friend in advance, explaining your reasoning and otherwise expressing your support for her during this difficult time. This could clarify and avoid misunderstandings about the gift. Ultimately, you made the decision that you thought was best under the circumstances, and it is important to trust your judgment in such matters. Your friend's disappointment is understandable, and it's important to recognize and respect your own boundaries and emotions in this situation, because personal attitudes and considerations in different situations are very important. Skylar, who donates such large sums to the registry office, if someone demanded this from me, I would simply ignore such a request. Maybe I would bring something that I consider necessary for married life. The gift is usually in exchange for your presence during the celebration. Will your spouse invite you and your spouse to a lavish dinner and party, paying all the expenses? I really don't believe that would be the case. There is nothing to celebrate, so a gift would not be appropriate. Honestly, you're lucky that they didn't send a package with a gift. Otherwise, this girl would not have returned the gift to you, and the money would have gone virtually nowhere. I feel sorry for the guests whose gifts were sent, because they are unlikely to get them back from her. You don't get gifts if you are almost married but not married. Isaiah, what an event. She almost got married and almost got a gift. What a poor girl. The level of harassment and arrogance of people just pisses me off. I'm not at all surprised that the wedding was canceled under these circumstances. I'm sure my friend could have thought to herself at that moment, I'm doing a favor for my friend. By saving her from having to deal with returning the gift, I have to assume your friend is a bride. She has indeed taken possession of all the gifts and will not return them to anyone. Lucy, don't let your friend do that. People will hate her. Everyone around her knows that gifts must be returned. This poor girl could find herself in the center of a scandal. Charles, I was going to say something similar, but this is even better. You have to realize that people are so weird. Especially looking at this situation, you don't owe anyone anything. If you decide to cancel a gift package, then so be it. No one has the right to contradict your choice.